I intend to make this as fun as possible. I've gone through our collection of beautiful photography. I just know you're going to love it. But in all seriousness, I'm self-taught. I learnt Joomla from scratch, obviously with some help from a certain Jason handout at the back. But basically all of this is coming from my personal experience where I run Joomla sites as well, and I've been wanting to make them a bit more dynamic. You know, we don't all just want to read text all the time, so I hope it inspires you just to kind of look at content a bit differently and see what you could do with it. Alright. Oh, and there's 21 ways. Okay, so first thing I'm going to talk to you about is embedding content. So we all have SlideShare and Twitter and Facebook and all these vast beasts out there, and we need to tame them somehow. And Joomla is actually a really good way to aggregate all your data into the one place. Now the problem with having things all the way out at SlideShare is that the users have to go and find you there. Whereas if everything's on your current website, when they're looking at you, they'll already see what else you are doing in the world. And plus, if you speak a little bit, every now and then like I am now, this could be on my blog and people know that I'm speaking. So it kind of also ups your profile a bit on your Joomla site, which is quite nice. So I'll just take you through the steps. So this is in SlideShare, and so you just click on the button up the top that says embed. You copy the code, head on into Joomla, go to your user profile, which is in the user menu in Joomla. You actually have to turn your editor off, because if you leave your editor on, it will strip out the code. Now I did try the little toggle button at the bottom of all the articles, and unfortunately it still strips out some of the code. So it's best to go in, turn off your editor, and then go back into your article, and then paste in the embed code into your article. And then, ta-da! So this is actually a presentation I did. I run the Moodle user group in Sydney, and I also run the Moodle user group website, which has all the Moodle user groups in the world on it. And so I did a preso, and the cool thing here is they can actually go through my presentation inside my article. So they don't even have to leave my site to be able to see my presentation, which is very nice. Alright, the next thing I want to talk to you about is seasonal content. Now, you know, Christmas comes up, and when you go to the shops, everything's got Christmas decorations. When you catch a bus, I don't know if any of you have caught a bus in Sydney, and there's this one bus driver. He always has tinsel and Santa's on the front, and you know it's Christmas time when he rocks up. I think he sometimes even wears a Christmas hat, which is quite interesting. So there's we don't want to get tacky, right? Because I think the bus driver is a little bit tacky. Could turn it down. But if we just add a simple little thing, like some Santa hats to our social bookmarking icons, then people know that it's Christmas time. They get a sense of excitement from your website, and it kind of matches what's going on in their life. And you're probably more likely that they will click on that because it's got excitement to it. So that's really actually quite simple to do, because, I don't know if you can see, it says Christmas Social Media Icon Theme Pack. So this is actually for a plugin, and it's called Social Media Icon Pack. And you can just download this special edition and add it to your site. And before you know it, your little Twitter icon got a little Christmas hat on. Maybe I should have worn one today. It's not quite Christmas time. So that's what it looks like up there. I just added two for you so you can see what it looks like. Pretty neat. Not overdone. Very simple. And so that is in the basic options inside that module position. So you have to click the icon theme set that you want to use. And then you have to put it in the right position. So I put it in position 7 so that it will work where I want it to. And so it's as simple as that. So you can see already with two things, we've added 2 ways to kind of spice up your content. And I don't know about you, but that's kind of more like what I want in my website. So, alright, so this is typographic enhancement. So, has anyone heard of Google Web Fonts? Yeah? So quite a few people have. So it's open source web fonts basically that run across all browsers, and inside Joomla you can actually add these web fonts using an extension called GH fonts. Yes, GH fonts. And so you can add them and then you can use them in all of your heading styles. Nice way to add content without getting into the CSS and really styling up the content. Another way is with a plugin from Joomla Bamboo called JB Joomla Typography plugin. And what this helps you to do is, I've just got some examples from their website for you. You can add quote marks, you can italicize, you can add these beautiful icons just by using the class out the front and the end of your content. So you would, if you want that pin stripe, you'd add JB_pin on either side of your content and that would work on your site. So again, you're not having to learn too much here to be able to start enhancing your website with more dynamic content.
What was that one called, sorry? What was that one called?
This one, it's called JB Joomla Typography plugin. Okay, I reckon that food looks pretty good, and I'm hungry, so I reckon I want to go and eat, but I don't know when an event is on, so how am I going to find out events if you are going to invite me to dinner and it's not on your website? I don't know. Everyone uses Google Calendar? Put your hand up if you don't use Google Calendar. Really? Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. Anyway, for those of you that do, this is a Google Calendar plugin, and so all you have to do is insert the calendar ID, which is down the bottom. It says in your Google settings share, and you get this little string that you can add in here, and then you assign it to a menu so that you have a menu called calendar. And there it is. So you can see at the top it says calendar, and then this is the calendar. And you can stylize that to look a little bit nicer. Obviously that's plain vanilla. Alright, progressive disclosure. Has anyone heard of that term before? Yeah, a couple of you. So what it means basically is that sometimes throughout a website you want to release bits of information at a time because certain people might not want the whole lot of information. They might want to know a little bit more and then read more, and then a little bit more than that, read more, and then the full version. And MailChimp do that really well. On their front page of their website, they give you a really clear description, and then when you press read more, there's a little bit further for those of you that just want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, and then for those that really want to know everything, they have a long article. So it's a way of like breaking down what your users need, rather than chucking it all at them, because obviously there's different reading types there. So you can do that really simply through the read more feature, which adds that nice red dotted line. So when it is on site, like on the front page of your website, there'll be a read more button. Click on there and you'll go there. I'll show you a little screenshot of such things. There's the read more button. You can see there's also one at the top. So it's a way of just giving a kind of a taster of your article and then letting people go in and read some more. Another pagination technique is not there. Alright, moving on. Redirecting users. Yeah?
So you were saying there was more than one reading. Is that what you're saying? I misunderstood you. I thought the impression you got was that you could have a small first bit with read more.
Yep.
And then you could go to a little bit more.
Yep. And then you just add that read more again. And then that would give the, yeah.
You can have more than one read more.
Yeah, you can have as many as you like.
Thank you.
No worries. Alright, so redirecting users. In Joomla 1.7, there's a funky new feature that basically you put in a URL that's broken or you no longer exists, and then you redirect all people who go to that URL automatically by adding in that new URL. So I'll show you what that looks like. First, I want to show you this really cool thing that I think Patrick Jackson actually showed me a couple of years ago. It's called Broken Link Checker. I think this one's 2 bones free link checker, and basically what you do is you type in your URL, it goes through your whole website and tells you all the links that are broken. And as you can see on our Moodle user group website, there's a few that are broken, and that's actually because when we link to user groups, sometimes they fall over, they don't exist anymore, they move their pages, they might go from Google Groups all of a sudden to Meetup, and because we're like pulling the data, this is a great way for us to be able to keep on top of our data and make sure that it's accurate. And then, so this is kind of like immediate. Got to fix my broken links, need to know what they are right now. And then you can use this second part, which is called the redirect manager. Now Google actually indexes your links within your pages. So those broken links back there could actually be clicked on within Google, and then Google will be resulting my users to broken pages, which is not what I want. So this is kind of like the backup plan, where you add the URL that's wrong, and then you add the destination URL, and automatically it redirects. So you don't have to do anything. You can kind of sit back and relax, but there's one more aspect to that. So then when there's a 404 error message because you haven't actually redirected the URL because you didn't know it existed, because you slacked off and you haven't been doing your link checkers, you know, you can customize these beautiful 404 error pages. I know a couple of people have asked already how to do it. There's a plugin called Qlue and Custom 404, and Qlue. And so what you can do here is you just install the plugin. It's an extension. Go to the components menu, click on the component, and here it is. You can add an image, you can add text, you can customize it in every way you want. You can add links within that image, so you can have home, about us on your 404 so that people don't feel like they're just stuck at a 404. That's one of the big kind of user experience elements that you should keep in mind, is when someone gets to a 404 error, what are they feeling, and how do you then transition them to come back to your site and not just close the button? So adding little links like home, about us, can we help you more, you know, they're really, really cool. So that's just a sample one I did for you, and that's what it looks like in the browser. There's a browser around that that says flutter, flutter, fly back home, and that home button, you click on it and it will go back to the home page. So is this useful so far? Everyone's getting a lot out of it? Yeah? Woohoo! I know it's late in the afternoon, so I want to keep you guys like energized and not falling asleep. You know, I had this idea, and I even told Jason that I should have brought a case of beer in, handed one out to you all, and said, all right, let's get cracking before the drinks. Anyone who came to my session gets a bonus, but we just didn't do it because can't drink in UTS, so sorry. Anyway. So customizing search. Now, I'm a big fan of this. So have you guys seen these boring search boxes that say search inside the search box? Well, what do you think I'm there for? Like, not to search? It sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's kind of a common standard across every website that I've known. And the really, really cool thing is you can change it inside Joomla like that. It's so simple. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to go to all of your websites and check that you do it, because it's too cool. Alrighty, so there it is, that boring thing called search up the top there. We'll change it. It's alright, don't cry. Alright, so we're inside the module manager. You just search for the word search. That sounds a bit funny, doesn't it? And then up here, it says box label, box width, and then that thing says box text. And I changed the box text from search to I'm looking for. And then, and you can change other things here, like if you don't want the search box so long, you can make it shorter so that people don't have to like see this long giant box. So then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm looking for. Oh, pretty. Alright, enough that. So, readability. Has anyone heard of readability testing? Aha. Weren't you in Jason's talk this morning, some of you? Didn't you talk about it? I tested yours. Right, late. It's all good. So readability test scoring is like when you are reading a comic, you should be getting 100% score because it's really simple to read a comic, right? There's some pictures, really minimal text. And your reading age should be under 7th grade. Because believe it or not, I know it sounds funny, we all like maybe went to year 12 or something and then we did a degree. But if your reading level is too high, it means that your content is written for an expert, and not everyone who's coming to your site is an expert in that domain. So you have to have your content readable by the multiple reading ages so that you don't like cut someone out. Does that make sense? So if you're a researcher and you have a website that's about clinical trials, that's fine to have that type of content for your researchers in a separate section. But if you're also trying to get the public on board, you need to have a simplified version of that text. Otherwise, we're not going to get it. Yeah? So, I have to be over here. Wish my clicker's good there. This is called readable.com. Highly recommend it. Sometimes I sit there and I just go through websites. I'm a bit of a geek, so it's alright. But I go through websites and I see their scores and it's really fun. So, I did the Moodle user groups.org website that Jason and I write the copy for. And so it has an average grade level of 7 and it should easily be understood by 12 to 13-year-olds. Pretty good. And then if we go down a little bit further, you can see that the number of sentences is 120. The number of words, that's on average per article, yeah? The number of words is 573. There's 53 complex words, so we're not trying to write content that's too techy, because the whole idea of that website is for people who like Moodle. They might be a school teacher, I don't know. Does anyone know what Moodle is? Only a couple. Moodle is a learning management system. It's like Joomla, and it's open source. And basically, it's got content engine in there, and you can write quizzes and all those other joyous things. So yeah, and yeah, it's pretty good. I like that reading score. So now I'm going to hop over to JoomlaDay, which is also doing alright. I was a bit surprised by that one. I thought it might be a bit complicated. So they've also got a grade level of 7, it's understood by 12 to 13-year-olds. I reckon that's pretty good content. For your reading levels now, there's a kind of a superstar in this content space at the moment. And her name is Christina Halverson. I'm going to talk about her in a little bit. But she kind of pioneers the content space at the moment. She's the first person to have come up with a thing called content strategy. And she's kind of wowing people to start taking their content more seriously and understanding that there's a whole cycle to content. So in terms of her copy, I thought, well, let's do a little bit of a comparison from us to someone who's supposed to be an expert at writing their content. And you can see that the average grade level is 5, which is kind of what I was saying. You want to be more near the average grade level of 5, and it's understood by 10 to 13-year-olds, 10 to 11-year-olds. So we're not that far off with the way that we're writing at the moment, but I encourage you to go through your copy on here and just see what score you get to start at interest. And, maybe you might rethink how you write, or maybe you can give yourself a pat on the back. But I think it's a real fun way just to see, what you're doing. Okay. So, while we're on the topic of Christina Halverson, in shops they go through and they do stock take each year of what stock they have left over, and they try and work out what's on their shelves, what's not, all those different things. Well, it's a bit like that for a website. Many of you have pages of content, like many articles linking to many places, and it can get really quite confusing where everything is. So, Christina came up with a book, I told you before, called Content Strategy. This is her in the corner. And that slide says content is not a feature. So it's not like something that we just think about as a feature. It's actually an ongoing process. I highly recommend that book. I've read it from cover to cover. I highly enjoy it. But the more important thing is a content inventory. Now basically what this is you list down one column, so column A, the page IDs. So that's like menu 1 will be home, menu 1.1 if your home button links to somewhere else other than your home page, which you shouldn't. But menu 2.1 will be like maybe your About Us page, and then so on and so on, if you have more menus underneath. And then you list all the URLs that those articles are. Sounds a bit intense, but it's pretty good. And once you do it, then you do what's called a rolling content inventory, and you don't have to keep thinking too hard because you've already got your structure set up. I'll do it screen for you. So the source content is where it comes, so we've got the page ID, the page name, the source content, notes and bios, and you can keep going. There's a few other things like any external links that link within those articles. Then you can go on and you can talk about tone, voice, complex words used. She goes on, downloads that are available. I mean, I don't want to go too far, but I've done that for many of my clients, and they really appreciate getting something like that. And you hand it over, and they take ownership, and they go, right, I'm going to update it, and guess what? They actually do. Because for the first time, they actually have an understanding of where all their content is.
Can that be live? So Google picks it all up?
It can't be live at the moment, but hey, maybe I should build that tool and then I'll become a billionaire when I sell it. But no, that's a good point though, it should be live. You know what I mean? And I was looking for a tool inside Joomla that listed all my articles. So if anybody actually has that tool up their sleeve, like a Patrick Jackson up with that.
XMAP?
XMAP, but does that actually list the URL?
I think
It
it
will also
can.
go through the content.
It'll present it in the sitemap. I mean, to show the list of URLs is useful for you as the developer, but not necessarily useful as an end user looking at your sitemap as such.
Yeah.
That said, XMAP produces the XML for the Google sitemap.
Yep.
One of the fields in that sitemap will be the actual URL. So
That's great.
if you imported the XML into Excel,
I could work on that and see if
you
it
do
would
have
work.
to column that would be the URL and all the other information.
Excellent. Cool. Did everyone get the name of that, or you're all good? Yes, Mr. Nando?
Question is, why do you want the URLs? Is it to check what naming you've got in the URL?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To make sure they're appropriate.
Yes, it's to check a couple of things. It's to make sure that you're naming your URLs consistently, and it's to check that your page titles are accurate. You want it there so that you can see your structure of what it is.
In SH404 set, there's a feature that does titles and meta manager.
Yeah.
Now I think that shows you the URL and then gives you boxes to fill out the title and the metadata. SH404 SEF. Yeah. There's a couple of other extensions that do similar things, but SH404 SEF does your search engine friendly URLs a step up from the Joomla basic stuff. Does the metadata management, does the time, and about 200 other requisite things.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick. So, have any of you had much experience with a global market, or are you mainly all in Australia? New Zealand? So, I mean, that technically it's global, but they're like our next door neighbours. So, colour and culture is really interesting. There's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful website called Information is Beautiful. And it has amazing infographics in there, like absolutely phenomenal. Informationisbeautiful.com. So here is basically what they've done is all over the world there's all this research that says that different colours mean different things in different countries. So they might mean anger, sadness, happy, wedding, funeral, all those different things. Which is quite surprising because if you design a website for a Hindu nation and you design it white, white is actually death. So if you were designing a wedding site in white for India, I don't think you're quite evoking the emotion that you want. So I tried to get a screenshot, but because it's a graphic, it's really hard to kind of make large. So I'll step you through it and how it works, so that you get an understanding. Hardy's got a question?
No.
No, you're good?
Yep, yeah,
All
that's
right.
the answer.
So, I wish I had a little pointer thing, but can any of you see where number 1 starts is 2 red? 2 red? Okay, so read is what there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Up the very top up there are all the nations, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, blah. And then here, there's 1 to 84, and 1 starts there, it goes all the way around, and then 84 finishes under the red box. You all get it? So far, you can follow me? So, if we look at number 1A, no, number 1C, which is Hindu, and number 1 is black, that means that in Hindu, the colour black is anger. So, I know that took a little while to get it out, but hey, we're getting somewhere. So if you design this for someone in India, and it's black, we might end up making them think that we're kind of feeling a bit like that. Because it's anger in their nation, you know what I'm saying? So we have to think about those things, because if we design for black, and yet black means anger in a country, it doesn't really evoke that emotion of, let's get in touch and have a chat. It's more like, I'm really angry at you! So we've got to be careful. Anyway. Alright.
I just went looking for that site, sorry, I just went looking for that site, and it's .net.
.net.
Not .com, I typed in .com and it's a web developer.
Oh, well that's pretty cool. Got a good domain. They actually brought out a really nice book that has all the infographics that they've done, the top 94 or something. And again, it's called Information is Beautiful. I was that close to buying it, but it was, I think it's like $80 or something, and I thought, yeah, nah, I can get it all on the web, so. So relaxing content. So this kind of taps into how to word your content better for the audience that you're talking to. Now, I could stand up here and I could be like drill and skill and all like serious. That's not me. I'm quite a relaxed person. I like to have fun. So really my website needs to kind of match that. And so we go on a little journey here called a short style guide. Now what this is talking about is Junglebox is a company that Christina kind of was working on, and she went and interviewed them, and she found out that Junglebox want to come across as smart, helpful, and enthusiastic. But their copy, currently, I'll take you to this last topic, section, the smartness is coming out like this. Due to their tiny sizes, springtails float on the surface of water. This trait can be exploited when attempting to remove the springs from their culture for feeding. That doesn't sound too bad, but it's very wordy, it's verbose. I don't know if that really sounds smart to me. So she has redone it. These tiny springtails float on the water surface, which makes it easier to remove them for feeding. Heaps shorter. I've actually got the message. The other one I didn't get the message. I don't understand. I still don't understand what it's trying to say. But the bottom one is really cool. So the enthusiastic, they were putting on the website, oh my god, check out our awesome new crop of blah blah whatever. Seriously, you'll freak out of these things. Freak out, man. Now, I mean, come on, that's a little bit overkill. So it's changed. And it says our new Vivariums have us hopping up and down with excitement. Yeah? So a little like less over the top, it's more professional. But these are simple ways that you can add tweaks to your content. Like instead of contact us, you could have get in touch. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of I'm this blah 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 and I do this and I do that and I do the other and blah blah blah, you could have something more like, what are you working on?
Dribble.
Dribble is show and tell for creatives. What are you working on? I could almost repeat that 3 times because I've memorized it because it's one simple thing. And their core message is clear. What are you working on? They want to know what you're working on because they want you to become a player, a rookie, an all-star. Do you know what I'm saying? And so if we all write our content really clear like that, our readability scores will be higher. We'll probably get more people signing up because we're less pushy in our content in the way that we're coming across. That's so beautiful. I like that though. So, feeding your tweets live. So who uses Twitter? And who would like to have Twitter on their website? Cool. Did you know that there's a plugin called JTweet from Joomla Bamboo? Displays really beautifully. I'll show you it here. Now that's pretty cool compared to the other plugins. They're a little bit like, I don't know, one of boxy content in with like 1,000 colours, whereas this is really plain. So you can see there's just sample tweet, the most 3 recent tweets. You can like extend it. You can have 2 accounts, not just 1 account in there. So like Jason and I work together, so we might want both our Twitter feeds going at the same time. So it'll just show the different images for us both. And then there's another really cool thing I did the other day because I didn't really want my live Twitter feed on there. I had tweeted at an event and I wanted those specific tweets to be shown on my website, but I didn't want to muck around with the whole embed this, blah, blah, blah. So I found a faster way, which is literally that you copy the tweets from Twitter, just going copying and pasting when you've done your search. Copy paste. You go into your article, you create a new article, and you paste it straight in, and that's what it looks like. Pretty fast. And I got my content up there. Yeah.
Did you have the editor on when you edited
No.
the article?
I had my editor turned on.
So how did you
No, actually I have my editor turned on.
editor on, and you just move your mouse over the tweets in twitter.com?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And then I just copied it, and then I went to Joomla, created a new article, and I dropped it in. Jason didn't know that because he deferred that job to me, so I found a faster way to do it. Alrighty, so menu set. Menus. Oh, jeez. How many menus do you think on average each site has? Heidi? How many do you have on yours? I don't know, just asking. Anyone else?
I came with 3 or 4, maybe I got 1.
5, and is that global or also local menus?
No, not this guy.
Local? And do you have more local than global, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Does everyone know the difference between what a global menu is and what a local menu is? No? So a global menu, just ignore the writing there for a sec while I just explain what a global menu is. So a global menu is the menu that goes across the top, home, sample sites, joomla.org. It consistently stays throughout your site. So it's the one menu system that they always go to, they always use, that's why it's called global. It doesn't change per page and such. The local menu here is really quite interesting. So if you click on a calendar, but you have 4 or 5 calendars, you might want to use the local menu so that they can click through the calendars, rather than having to use their global menu with that, you know, the drop down. And drop downs, I don't know if you've played with them, they can be a bit tricky, and then you thought you clicked it, but you didn't click it, and then you get it. So that's the difference between global and local. Now in Joomla, menus don't really make sense to me. I don't know why they're called what they're called, but anyway. So that in Joomla is called a top menu. This in Joomla is called the about menu. And this one is called your main menu. So I'll show you the back end. And this is in the menu manager. And you can see there's the top menu, which says that it's got 3 published items under it. There's the About Joomla menu, which has got 87. There's the main menu, which has got 11. Now the fruit shop and the Australian parks are local menus that are displayed on a different page. That's why you didn't see them on the screenshot back there. Yeah? So, if you want to edit that global menu, you have to click on top menu, and then, as you can see here, home, sample sites, and joomla.org, you could add another one there, you could rename them, and that's where you find your global menu inside Joomla. Flattening your site. So, has anyone seen the, oh yeah?
Didn't answer the question.
Hmm?
How many menus on average they have?
Who?
You mentioned the point about how many menus do they now have on average. So it's a statistic.
There's not a statistic, but I just know from like running around town that menus are overcomplicated. I actually did a wireframe for a client last week where I had all these different menus, and then when I started designing what I was doing, I worked out that I didn't actually need all the globals because I could cut it down, either not have a menu for it because it's embedded within that one of the other menus. I'm a big fan of cutting menus down.
So are you saying that we should cut down on global menus, but kind of make the local menus more obvious?
Kind of a personal choice. I would maybe recommend this approach, which is kind of flattening the structure of your whole site. So why do you need these menus to the site? Unless you've got this massive site. You know, if you've got a portfolio, why do you have to go and categorize it like, you know, this is this, this is that, when you could have like little screenshots with read more buttons? Do you know what I'm saying? You don't have to overload the menu systems. You can use the space, like the white space that you have when you've created a menu to like publish your content. And Joomla is great at that because you can display a list of articles per category. So you don't even have to like, you know, place things or anything. You can sort it out like that. So flattening your site is kind of a trend. There's a really funky American craft beer website. So this is the start of their page, and then you scroll down, and you get this beautiful like little road, and it says, "Looks like we're taking you on a long road. How about a lift?" So that's helping people if they're getting confused because they're scrolling. So homepage is vertical scrolling. All your content's on the homepage, and the user scrolls. It's a trend. And then what happens is the road leads to a pint of beer, and then they explain what, I wish it was true, well, our road is going to lead there afterwards. So yeah, and then this is like a little bit about the beer that they're doing, and then you scroll down and it's like where you can buy our beer, and another road that leads to something else, and then at the bottom there's contact us. So that's quite a trend, and it's really simple to do in Joomla. So how many people are new to Joomla? Cool. So how many people have used 1.7? Cool. And how many people still have sites in 1.5? Excellent. All right. So I bet you've all noticed there's a bit of wording changes from 1.5 to 1.7. So featured articles are called that in 1.7, but in 1.5 they were called front page, like published on the front page, and there used to be a front page manager, and now there's a part where you go in 1.7 called featured as such. So any pages that you want to display on your home page need to have that blue star ticked basically, and you can just press on it. And that means that it's a featured article that you want displayed on your home page. Does that make sense to everyone? So I'll show you what that looks like. Actually, no, I won't. I will show you first. That was what I was telling you about, the featured articles manager, and that's where you go in and go back. And you decide like what order that they're going to display in. So you might not want the custom HTML showing first, or you might not want the Joomla to be displayed second, you might want it third or fourth. So you would change the ordering there. And then this is kind of me breaking down what the home page is for you so that when I show you the next slide, it makes sense. So in Joomla, in the back end when you're editing the home menu, so you have to do your placement of where things are in the home menu, right? You've got a thing called a leading article, and then, so that's that top article there, and then you've got intro articles, and then you've got columns. Now you can set your your leading articles to 40, if you had that many, I doubt it, but that is then how you would do the static homepage. But then if you wanted to, as you got down to a certain point, like after 5 articles, you wanted it to have 2 columns, then you would set the columns and the intro articles into 2. Does that make sense? So you would do that here. So leading articles is 2, I've changed it from 1 to 2, and intro articles I've changed from 3 to 2, and I've changed the number of columns to 2 columns, not 3 columns. So you'll see in the next slide that that's now how the Joomla page looks. So it's a bit different to how it was before. Can you all see how we made those changes? Does anyone have any questions about that? Because it's pretty key to site.
We're going to ask whether you have 1, 2, 1, 2. That's
We can consult with either Dex or Jason about that one afterwards. But could you do that in template override?
I can see it.
Yeah, you just repeat the part we call the intro. Move the for loop above it so that it does a repeating loop. You wouldn't want to do that.
Well, I might if I was trying to be clever. So yeah, I'm just going to have a break. My voice is tired. I've been going all day. Does anyone else need a break? Do you need to stand up? Take a stretch? Yoga. Let's do yoga. Come on. Let's do yoga.
Are you done?
Nope. I've got more. Am I close?
What number are you up to?
20 to 5.
Oh, well, who's been keeping track?
16.
That's what I read.
16! You're onto it! I played with like putting numbers on, but then I thought then I'll be like, oh no, she's not up to 20 yet, she's going to keep going closer to it. Or then they might be like, oh no, she's going to stop. Alright, so, who's heard of affordances? This is like my favourite thing at the moment. I'm obsessed with it. I think I'll walk around my office talking about it every day. So this is actually a, you know those push-pull doors? Push door normally has a no handle. Pull door normally has a handle. This has a handle, but it says push. It's a bit confusing. I know some of them use the handle and push it, but still the point is that it's confusing. So inside our website, how can we make sure that a user knows what's going to happen when they do something? Or how can we make sure that what they think is going to happen actually happens? So how can we pre-program them to let them know what's about to happen? Well, Jason Hando found this really cool thing, and it's called preview shots. What it allows you to do is, after each URL, like hyperlink, inside your article, it displays this like little, can you see it here? This little thing, or that thing up there, that green thing. And it allows you then, like when you hover over it, to see a preview of the site that you will be clicking on. And so it helps the user to know, hey, you're going to go outside our website now if you click on that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're pre-telling them where they're going. I'll show you where we've used that. So we write reports for this middle user group thing, often lots of links thrown around at the meeting, it's very dynamic. And so here, this is an example we're going to Video Monkey. We show a nice little screenshot of where we're going to go. The user already knows they're going to go. If they like it, they can click on it. If they don't like it, guess what? They can stay with you. So it's actually working in two ways. They either choose that they want to go. I mean, sometimes you can even read what the website already is inside your article. I think that's cool. I actually like that tool. Does anyone else like the sound of that tool?
Do you have any control over what gets shown, or is that dynamic? So if they change their web page all of a sudden?
We'll stop it from going. You can put an attribute in the A paper tag to stop it from doing it.
To stop it from doing what?
It's like no preview. Stop it from showing the preview.
Oh, okay.
So if you've got a link and you don't want to show the preview shot, you can just put in an attribute.
Is that what you're after? Or you're after more being able to customize the image that's inside that preview shot?
Does it take that snapshot and then store it? Or is it a dynamic thing where, say for example, MailChimp changes their page?
No, it's a static shot first.
When it grabs it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to populate it, a user first has to hover over it. So whenever I publish my articles, I sign out and I go in and I hover over it so that it populates the preview. Because I have to go take an image and then come back.
Okay.
And then
Otherwise it gives them wait time or something.
Yeah, and I just think that that's better for my users when they come to my site, the preview's already there, rather than like hovering and going, what's happening?
So how do you do that?
Oh, this? How do you do it? I'm back straight.
I like it.
So it's a little bit technical, that's the only thing. But you know, if you know a handy person that knows some code, you can kind of do it quite fast. And you grab this code from the Preview Shots website, and it even tells you where to put it. So if you're a little bit apprehensive, you know, they've got instructions there. And so we're inside the template that we're using on the website, and you just add the script in between the body There's a body tag up the top, and that's the closing body tag. And you get that from the website, Preview Shops. You have to sign up for an account, and it's free. So, yeah.
Sorry, just a tip. It tells you to put it just before the body tag, same as the Google Analytics tells you to put it before the body tag. By putting it in your template means that if you change template, you've got to remember to go and grab it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just tend to put that all in the module that's assigned to the module position.
Oh, that's a huge better idea.
And the debug, you can see just above the Google Analytics code, almost the last JDoc call there is the debug position.
Yeah.
And so that way will permanently load it in the user without having to pick it up.
You're on to it, Patrick.
That's why we're a community.
I was going to say, that's why I came to this conference, pick up tips like that. That's great. Do you think, Patrick, you could write that down somewhere and we could add it to my Prezo, so people, when it goes out, can get that info?
You should see your Twitter stream when you get back.
Oh, hang on. Just let them.
The question is where the Google Analytics code goes. So there is a couple of variations depending on what we're doing with analytics. The main code goes to the bottom, the general tracking code, and then the goal code and other types of code needs to be triggered before content loads. So there's two parts there. Most of
Might be going from the old bit of code.
Right. So you just need to check where your code is. There is another trick that you've got to. There's a trick I'll have to blog about. I can't remember how I did it last time. Where you can make a module position that loads inside the head, and then you can't actually call content inside that, but you can call the JavaScript inside that. So inside the
Cool. And I think there was a question.
I was more of a comment. You could probably do the same thing with tooltips. So, selectively, would that be the same thing?
Tooltips. I think there's proper extensions that cover tooltips for you.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
The one that you're talking about does it for every link.
Yeah. And you don't have to do anything to it. So you just enter in your a hyperlink, and it automatically will do it. The only thing that I said before, that you go and manually just hover over it to get the preview loaded before your users come. Yeah?
When you configure it on the previewshots.com website, it asks you if you want it to only work for external links to your website.
Ah, and you can keep that. Yeah.
So that it didn't preview your own website.
Yeah.
That's a silly idea.
Which again is adding another affordance, because then if they highlight on a contact us, we have a contact us in one of our articles, that they know that that's internal and it's not going external, because they're used to the external links having a preview.
The JCE editor doesn't have the snapshot built in, and it's got the icon option to indicate that there's an external link within the
Cool. Alright, so in 1.7 or 1.6, I think they actually brought it out, but both, they brought out ACL controls, which means access. Oh, forgotten.
Controllers.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I personally haven't played around too much with it, but Patrick over dinner last night was telling me all the exciting, wonderful opportunities that you can have with that, where you can kind of have content only shown to certain people when they log in, so you can do that based on their kind of rights inside Joomla, and it's kind of like making our Joomla sites a little bit more personalised to people, which is quite phenomenal. So I've got a little screenshot explanation here. So it talks about the groups that you're editing, so you can edit all their access levels, so that different people see different things, and I think you can even create access levels, is that right? Yep. Thank you. And so this is the administrator. You can see that their actions are to the side, so they can create, delete, edit state, edit own. They can select the permissions. So inherited means that they will get it for that site. And allowed means that they're allowed to seek super admin. And then you can, no, what's that one? Corrected. Settings in effect. Allowed, allowed, not allowed. Why is that person not allowed?
Is there another super admin? Aha.
See? That's why we need you folks. Anyway, I'm going to take you on like the content you are chick, so. Alright, so, peripheral context. Yes? 5? Cool, thank you. Well, that's good. So much better. 2? Yeah. Okay, so this is a really interesting image. It's from 100 Things Every Designer Should Know. I highly recommend that book. I read the top 30 tips in less than maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's really well written. The understanding, it's actually applied to the web really well. So she has this little section where she writes takeaways, which you can basically, it's like the conclusions and the goals that you can do for yourself. Highly recommend it. So this is talking about a central vision photo versus a peripheral vision photo. And in actual fact, when people looked at this photo, because she did a study, they couldn't actually tell what room they were in when it was a central image. So this is actually a lounge room. They couldn't tell that that was a lounge room. But on their peripheral vision, they could tell it was a lounge room, because they understand their outer context within their own brain. So that's quite like it kind of threw me off a little bit at first, and I didn't quite understand. But then I kind of explored it a little bit more, and I thought, how can we apply this to Joomla? Like, how can we make sure that being an exciting thing like signing up for mint.com, how can we let them know where they are, what they're doing, what they're going to achieve from that? How can we use what Joomla already has built inside to support this idea of peripheral, to give them a sense of where they are, help them know what they're doing? Because they're actually focusing right now on the central vision, which is signing up. And they could potentially get nervous and forget where they are. So if we put something on the peripheral that just says, hey, you're here, you know, why you'll love mint.com. So reinforcing that message, you're going to love us because of this, this and this. Or if you're like on the contact us page, you could have a little thing there too, like explaining maybe how they could contact you, or, you know, don't forget to read our documentation on how to use X, so that they can maybe rethink what they're doing or feel comfortable in what they're doing. Then the other one is what we talked about, which was central. Now, if you actually want people, like this is good for a blog, to be only focused on your content in your blog because you want them reading and concentrating on the text that's there because that's their whole purpose, then you might want to get rid of the module positions to the side and just have one single layer. Or you could do what this guy did, which was reinforce why they're reading. Now that little column there doesn't take away from what they're doing. It's built into the color, so it's not jumping out and like scaring them. So obviously if you had Google apps on ads on the side of your blog, and you're trying to get your readers to read your blog, that's going to be very, very distracting. So if you have a blog site, I highly recommend you either get rid of your modules on the side or do something really interesting like this that keeps them there, but it doesn't distract them. And that is a beautiful site. You can see that they're reading their blog.
If you are monetizing that.
Pardon?
If you are monetizing your blog,
yes,
you need the ads there.
You can put them in between.
Where you can actually colour your ads in your AdSense. So
yeah.
your AdWords control panel, you can actually match the colour to your background so that they're less.
Yeah.
And do the same thing with that.
I'm not personally a fan of Google, well, monetizing maybe, but I have a theory, right? If your content is so good and you're blogging about it, people will somehow get in contact with you and you can make money through other means. I know it's a good option for people who want quick buys, but I personally, you know, I'm kind of a bit of a believer. Why are you distracting your users? You're actually giving them the option to get out of your blog. You're actually giving them probably a better option. I was on a website the other day and they were advertising someone else's hosting provider. I'm like, what are you doing? And it said cheaper rates than GoDaddy or something. And I'm like, now I want to go there because you've enticed me. It's like, have you seen the experiment where they put a marshmallow in front of a little kid and they walk out of the room and they say, if you don't eat the marshmallow, we'll give you 2. And the kid literally walks up and he goes, and then he walks around and he's like, oh, I need a marshmallow. Not 2, but I want it now. Then he sits down and he goes to touch it and then he thinks, oh, someone's probably watching me. He goes again and goes, oh no. And then one girl comes in and she like waits 5 seconds and she's like, nah, don't worry. You know what I mean? So, you know, you've got to kind of cater for that. That's a bit scary. So hippies and long hairs use the back door. So this is signing up users. Inside Joomla, you can get people to create an account on your website so that they can sign up to your great deals or newsletters or, I don't know, whatever else you want to send out to them. And, or if you have special content that you really want them to see, if they're a member, like if you've got like a template club or something like that. And I found this really cool article in Joomla documentation that says that in 1.7 there's a new setting which allows admins to approve the user before they get access. Now that is great for reducing spam. I don't know how many of you guys have got spam from people signing up. Russians, I don't know what they're doing. It's always, whenever I look up the IP, it's always from Russia. I'm like, come on guys, leave me alone. So I know there's other plugins for that, but that's pretty cool. And so I like that. So I think that